Hey everyone, welcome back to Extreme Crypto's channel. And finally, me and Adnan's schedules came together and we're back with another detailed analysis of Bitcoin. But before we get going, what about the news? El Salvador giving each person in the country $30 worth of Bitcoin to get them going. Paraguay adopting Bitcoin. And another thing, China banning Bitcoin yet again. What's your thoughts on that, Adnan? And welcome.
Hi, Dricus. Thank you very much for having me on the channel again. Really appreciate it. With regards to China, I think it's a good thing because the majority of the Bitcoin mining was all centralized, all in China, which is now that they've banned it and pushing the miners out, it's more of a decentralized mining system now for Bitcoin, which I think is a very good thing. It's taking the monopoly out. Or the majority of the monopoly out of a country or a single country and spreading it elsewhere around the world, which I think is a very good thing in the long term for Bitcoin. It might have some challenges in the short term until people find another country where they can set up their mining rigs, get everything going again, plug back into the system. But ultimately, I see that as a very good thing.
I totally agree, and I think the drop we saw after the news came is probably the miners companies selling Bitcoin to make the move, which means after they
Potentially, of
made
course.
the move, they're probably going to start buying Bitcoin back again, and we might see another surge in the price. While there's so much good news coming out, for the long term, I have a lot of belief.
No, of course, I totally agree with you there. Bitcoin's fundamentals have not changed one bit. It still sticks to its core principles, and that will never change. And that's ultimately what gives Bitcoin its value. I think all in the short term, especially now that the market has dropped 50%, people are negative, people are scared, institutions are spreading FUD into the market purely for their own benefit to fill their bags with Bitcoin at a cheaper price. So the lower they drop it for now, it benefits them. But the people who bought into Bitcoin who haven't done their homework or research or who don't have a long term time horizon, they are the people that are getting scared and selling every single time they hear different types of news. They're selling at losses, they're selling at break even, and they failed to realize or recognize the true function of Bitcoin and why the best strategy is to buy and hold long term or to accumulate as much Bitcoin as you can and hold it for long term. That's what I believe and that's what I do.
I agree, and long term, you need to look at least 4 years because past results have shown every 4 years, more or less, we're seeing a new all time high. It can
Of
happen
course.
quicker and might take a little bit longer, but this is past results and we never know. So, for the people that's buying Bitcoin, don't FOMO out or FUD. If you buy it, hold it until you're in the profit because you only lose when you sell in a minus, in my opinion, when it comes to Bitcoin, for instance. But if you hold on for the long term, you'll make profit.
Of course. No, I totally agree with you there. And you got to also look at it from a different perspective, whereby the last bull run, we came down, I think the 2018 bear market, 2018, 2019 bear market, we came down to approximately $3,000 from an all time high of just shy of 20K. Um, we're just putting an all-time high of approximately $64,000 and we at 31 no sorry we're at $34,000. We are so much higher than where we were previously, and people are scared, they're panicking. But if you look at it from a different perspective, we are 10 or yeah about 10 times higher or 11 times higher than the previous all-time low. So I don't understand why people are freaking out and selling their Bitcoin, because the way I look at it, the further Bitcoin drops in a bear market or a consolidation phase or whatever this is, the more we can accumulate at a discounted price and prepare for the next leg up.
I totally agree. Like, for instance, this week's dropped. I was just accumulating all the way down and decent profits since then. And another thing is, 2018's low was a lot of retail investors which got scared. They sold when it dropped. where in the current situation, we're seeing institutions, big companies, which keeps on buying countries, and they're not going to sell. They're going to hold it for the long term. So I don't see us dropping that far down like we did in 2018, but being more sustainable and moving forward from here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there.
But enough of the news. What are you seeing in the charts? What is the midterm to short-term update from your side today?
All right. So if we look at Bitcoin on the daily, you can see we've had this massive surge to the upside. We started putting in higher highs with higher lows, but these higher highs weren't much higher than the previous highs. So you can see the buying momentum started to slow down. So if you take that higher high, as opposed to that one, there's a decent gap between the two. And as we put in another one, it's technically higher than the previous high, but it's not all that much higher. The last one was not that much higher. So that was a very good indication that we are losing steam at the moment. And then we had that drop. We had a buy recovery to some certain extent, or the way I look at it, a bear flag, and then a continuation drop. So at the moment now, you can see, even when we were going up in this current bull run, when we came back, we tested this green zone, or this green buying zone or support zone. And every time it acted as support, and we pushed up. When we came back down, the same zone is holding the price up at this current stage. Okay, so we can label this green box as a very good or strong support zone. And I've just drawn a trend line joining these two peaks and just brought it down all the way until it joins up with the support box. And as you can see, it's created this shape, something like that. So that is a descending wedge. A descending triangle, my apologies. So a descending triangle is a bearish indicator. Not saying it can't break to the upside, but we've got to be realistic and look at it from a psychological standpoint that if this support continues to hold as it is doing now, and we start working our way up, this line, okay, that's running down here, this resistance trend line is going to act as very strong resistance. Now, if I just take us back, if we just lay a Fibonacci from the start of the push to the bottom, you can see we got the 61.8, roughly at the 48 to 50K zone, give or take. So if we were to just remove that, we can say that we have some sort of a resistance box or resistance zone. Let me just make that red, running horizontally like that. So what I see, if we do break above this very strong resistance currently sitting at about the 41K, if we do break that and start moving up, I see something where we're going to hit the resistance trend line that's running down, as well as the horizontal line that's running to the side, as well as the 61.8 on Fibonacci, which we know will act as strong resistance. So there's a lot of confluence telling me that we might get to that 48, 50K zone, but I highly doubt, not saying we can't break above it, but I highly doubt we're gonna. And we ultimately will get rejected, coming back down to the support, coming back up, putting in a lower high. So we have a lower high there, a lower high there, and a lower high there. So this is what I'm seeing for the next, if we just give some sort of a time horizon, I would say 3 months approximately. So once the price works its way into this wedge, there's only two things that can happen. We're either going to pop up and continue up, or the probability is we're going to pop down, and then ultimately that's when I see us hitting the 20, maybe 21. And if the selling pressure is very strong, we can easily hit the 16 to 15K, which at the end of the day, I welcome. I want that to happen because I want to fill my bags up more. We got to start thinking like institutions would think. They want the price to come down so they can buy more at a fraction of its all-time high value and then ride the wave back up. And another reason why I say this is a plausible scenario is if we go back to the previous bear run, Where is that? The previous bear run from the 2018, 2019. So you can see we had this crazy blow off top. And then once again, we found this level of support. So as you can see, the price came down, we bounced, we pushed off, we bounced, we pushed off, we bounced, we pushed off. So what you can see is we also created this very big descending wedge, where every time we bounced up, we came back to the support. But when we pushed back, we put in a lower high, a lower high, a lower high. So we started squeezing into this little corner, this little wedge, and ultimately we broke down, which a descending triangle, that's what it means. Remember, once again, it's not guaranteed to break down, but most of the time, 8 or 9 times out of 10, they usually break to the downside. So I see something very similar happening at the moment. If I were to go back, where we're going to create this quite a big descending wedge and ultimately break down, which will be the best opportunity to buy Bitcoin before the next leg up, which could be next year or the year after. That is the bearish scenario. Bullish scenario is that we work our way back, we break this, we find support on top of this 50K zone, which is also a psychological resistance, and then we continue going up. I wouldn't say that's going to happen. I highly doubt it will. It can, but I don't think that's the plausible scenario. Before I move on to the smaller time frames, Drickus, do you want to comment on anything here?
Yes, you showing this. Are you thinking we're in a bearish market?
Look, we got to call a spade a spade. If we look at it on the daily, okay, on the daily, we had higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher high. Okay, that is indicating that we're in a bull market, especially on the daily, and we're going up. As soon as we got a lower low, so this low here was lower than the previous low, followed by a lower high, because this high was lower than the previous high. That is a change in market structure, meaning that is your first alarm bell saying, hang on a second, the buyers are losing momentum and the sellers are gaining momentum. And the market proved us, we followed by a lower low, and then quite a severe lower low at this stage. So I would say, yes, technically we are in a bear market. We can't not say that. If we were to go to the weekly and have a look at the weekly, you see market structure has also changed on the weekly. We had higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, a series of smaller higher highs. We had a low followed by a lower high and then a lower low. So even if we look at it on the weekly, this is obviously from a technical point of view that, yes, we technically are in a bear, I wouldn't say a bear market, we're in a bear run. Once we break this approximately this 30K support, we're definitely in a bear market. And that's when I see something similar with what happened in the previous run, where we come down to that 15, 16, we consolidate for maybe 6 to 12 months, and then we're going to start working our way up, which will easily take us into mid-2022, potentially even end of 2022. But I mean, I just think that's a fantastic opportunity for people to accumulate before the next run up, because on the next leg up or the next run up, we're definitely going to be breaking 100K. That I can almost guarantee.
I agree. And I think the big institutions, even like Andreessen Horowitz, who's bringing out a 2.2 billion hedge fund, they're looking for the bearish at the current stage because they want to accumulate as much as they can. And that might be another indication why they just announced it. MicroStrategy,
100%.
You all know they'll probably be buying more. And they'll probably try and keep it above the 26,000 mark because that's the average buying price currently. But
yeah.
So that's going to be interesting facts. I see the 26,000 being some sort of resistance from the institution side.
Yes. And there's a lot of confluence there, actually.
Exactly. And I agree. If we break the 30,000 mark, like you mentioned, 26,000 is probably going to be the next one on, let's say, on a news site, on the institution side. And if it breaks that, 16,000 easily. But you're going to see a lot of people accumulating when it drops below that.
100%. Just to back that theory up, if I just take Fibonacci from the bottom of the pandemic dump all the way to the top, roughly there, and we all know 61.8 is a very nice level that BTC or most coins like to respect. That is currently falling at about 27,300. So within that zone that you were talking about, that 26. And the only reason I say that if we break the 30, I believe we'll fall a lot more is if I just go back to the 2017 dump, because this support zone was acting as support. I think it was from February. I just moved that out the way, from February all the way till November. So a lot of people assumed that the 6,000, 7,000 K zone was so strong. I mean, it's only logical to think that it's been holding the price up for almost a year. We can't go lower. The day it did break, I think so many people lost confidence and it just tumbled. And from that point where it broke, we fell a further 50%. So if we were to replicate something similar, I know history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. If we were to break, say, at the 30 and fall an additional approximately 50%, it takes us to the $15,000 mark once again. So I'm not saying it's guaranteed to fall so low. And if I think we do fall so low, we're going to be extremely lucky to pick Bitcoin up anything under 20K.
No, I totally agree on that.
Yeah.
But I do have my orders set down there for in case.
Oh yes, I've also dollar cost average all the way down there. So if in the event there's a big dump and a ridiculous wick that gets eaten up almost instantaneously, at least I know our orders have already been sitting there for a while.
For sure. All right.
Cool. And if we just
short that one.
Yes. If we just jump to the short term, and let me just go to the 4 hour. So as you can see, we had that bit of a bear run on the smaller time frame from that 41 and a half thousand. We've been coming down, putting in lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. What we've done now recently is you see this red trend line that's running down. We've broken it, giving us a lower high still. But when we came back, this red trend line acted as support, keeping the price above it. But most importantly, it gave us a higher low, indicating now that the sellers have lost momentum in the short term and the buyers are gaining momentum or gaining some ground. So we've pushed back up, technically have given us a higher high, but I still believe we're going to retest this white line as support to a certain degree and then push up ultimately to take us to the 38,000 K, which is coinciding with quite a strong resistance. But if we zoom out, right, I ultimately still believe that once we break this 38 and we break this 41, if we look to the left, has kept us down for quite some time. Once we break that, we'll have a very quick move up to find resistance on this downtrend, this resistance trend line, possibly push up to hit that 50. Remember, $50,000 is a very strong psychological resistance level because of the round figure. And if we start losing momentum, coming back down, giving us a lower high, and we break back into this pattern, I definitely think we're going to fall fairly quickly back to the 31K. Once again, if it does not hold at that time, that's when I reckon we're going to start falling down further. We might come back to put in another lower high, get squeezed into this little wedge. And at some point, the market has to make a decision. Either we pop up or we're going to pop down. But the probability, because of the nature of the pattern, it will more than likely break to the downside. So that's in the immediate short term that I can see happening.
Do you have any trades currently open or any entries you're
No.
looking at?
No. All I'm doing at this stage is I can see the market is very emotional, very volatile. That's just a direct reflection of how people's emotions are. And so I think trading at this moment, when I say trading, I'm referring to leverage trading, is a little bit risky. So I'm setting out on that one for now until the market starts to consolidate and actually makes up its mind. And then I'll jump back onto leverage trading. However, I am uh, 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 dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, and I'm having a bit of fun with some stack trading at this moment.
The same here. I'm staying away from the leverage and doing spot trading and stacking them down. That's why my orders are
Yeah,
ready.
exactly what I'm
If it
doing. Yeah,
drops,
no, 100%.
I'll be accumulating a lot.
Yeah, yes, 100%.
No, the opportunities is endless. The market is going to surprise us. Who knows which direction it will decide to go. But for the long term, things are looking good in my perspective.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree with you. And then just to add one more thing, if I just remove all of this and just put our trusty old friend Bollinger Bands, and we go to the weekly. You can see at this current stage on the weekly, the SMA, which is the simple moving average, which is this red line that's running in between the upper band and the lower band, that's kind of stopped moving upwards and is kind of just trending sideways. So normally what we see in a downtrend is the price will hit the lower band more often and get rejected off the center band. So I still can see us working our way to the center band, assuming it does something like that, working our way to the center band. And you can see at this current moment, the center band is at that $48,000 mark. So there's a lot of confluence still telling me that we can still work our way up to the 48, still hit some major resistance, and then fall down slightly further. Well, that's what I'm hoping for.
The same here. But if not, we're still making profit because our bags are already in there and ready to go.
Exactly.
So thank you for putting time in your schedule. And finally, we're getting back on the air. We'll try and do it weekly yet again as we used to. And appreciate your insights. Hopefully, there's opportunities for everyone out there. It's their decision and they can go on whichever they think is going to benefit them.
Yes, I totally agree with you there, because there's opportunities, endless opportunities in the crypto market. We just got to be very careful of. I see time and time again people jumping on these coins that make no sense, altcoins that I've never heard of, and they get burnt every single time. So just be careful when you're out there in the markets. Be careful of who you listen to and who you believe and who you're watching and what you're watching. As you can see on this channel, on Dricus's channel, that we stick to coins that have been around and have had the test of time, and they've proven themselves to us. So just do your own due diligence before you take any advice from me or anybody moving forward.
I think the one thing I'm telling everyone all the time when I bring me a new coin to look at, the first thing I've asked is, does that coin have a usage? Can it be used for something? If they have a clear usage and something for the future they're building around, look at the coin. But make sure there's something behind the coin. There's a lot of meme coins coming out just because of a name or just because Elon Musk did something, for instance. I'm only trading the top 20 coins. I hardly go out of that because I know they have a future. They won't be in the top 20 without a reason. Besides
Of course.
Dogecoin, in my opinion. But that's a story for another day. So make sure, like Adnan said, do your due diligence and don't get into anything. Listen to everyone, but make your own decision because you're pressing that button when you're buying or selling. So
Thank you. Thanks again, Dricus.
I appreciate your time. Thanks for everything and have a good one.
You too. Cheers.